Hello, my name is William Kent, and today I'll be talking about persuasive metalanguage. These are the words that you would use when you're writing an analysing argument essay. It's important to note, though, that the metalanguage I'm going to teach you is to help you in analysing argument. It is not designed to be used as a almost find a technique, describe the technique, give an example. That's not the way to write the essay. The metalanguage, I'll run you through a technique list with some weaker words or weaker techniques, technique lists that involve stronger things. I'll talk about all the appeals, and I'll give you lots of examples and explanations. For the weaker ones, alliteration, inclusive, exclusive, and emotive language, pun, similes and metaphors, establishing credentials, rhetorical questions, repetition. These first 9 you would only be using if the author is really going deeply into it, or if you are really struggling to find other ways to analyse the argument. Analogy is a bit stronger, but still is included, in my opinion, in the weaker techniques list. These ones here are valid to analyse. However, if you are analysing them, it usually means you're struggling and you've used up all you can find from the stronger list. The stronger list involves anecdotes, personal attacks, rebuttals, hyperbole, connotation, evidence, hypothetical scenario, stereotypes and generalisations, expert opinion, and of course tone. Notice how tone is capitalised. It is the most important of the list, and you will need to be mentioning that every single paragraph, as I discuss in the video on analysing argument essays. Through the appeals, we've got an appeal to common sense, patriotism, fear, family values, justice, being modern and up to date, and finally an appeal to hip pocket nerve. With all of these techniques and appeals, I will run you through 3 things: the definition, what it actually is, an example, plus the effect on the audience. This here, the effect on the audience, is where all the marks are. You need to be able to, in an essay, not just name an appeal and define it. You need to be discussing how does that argument affect the reader. We'll start off with alliteration. Repetition of the first letter in 3 or more words. Things like sneaky snakes slowly slide south. This one here, smart students study on Saturdays and Sundays. Notice how we've got the word on and that breaks the cycle or the chain. Don't worry, that still definitely counts as alliteration. This is memorable, sticks in the reader's head, and is typically used in headings. Inclusive language is language that includes. It includes both the writer and the audience as one larger team. For example, words like us, we, our classroom is a safe place. We need to support the homeless. This makes a suggested course of action more desirable because it will benefit the group. It includes the writer and their suggestion as part of the group. Exclusive language, the exact opposite. It creates distance between 2 groups, and we use it with words like I, you, mine, me, or yours. I don't want to get involved in your personal problems. I am better than you. Creates division. Creates a separation between something that could be good and something that could be bad. Emotive language, language that is designed to make you feel strong emotions, usually through connotations, and they are usually adjectives. Brave grandma saves abandoned orphans. It's not just woman saves child, it's a brave grandma. The orphans, not just a child, they're orphans and they've been abandoned. All emotive words. Infant found in filthy, flea-infested crib. Filthy, proofreading is important. Flea-infested, adjectives that are designed to stir emotions. Helps to create a targeted emotion in the reader. Pun, play on words, usually when 2 things mean the same. Like the right stuff, if I was to write an article about my English group, the right stuff because they do a lot of writing, but they also have the correct ingredients. Or If you had an article on a head transplant being successful, could be how to get ahead. Pun, play on words. It's entertaining. This is always used for non-serious things. Similes and metaphors, you compare two things as being the same, metaphor, or two things as being similar, simile. He is a giant, metaphor, or hungry as a horse, simile. These two are similar, hungry as a horse, one and the same, metaphor. This easily creates a mental framework for the reader, could be either positive or negative. Establishing credentials, you give your own qualifications. Why are you an expert on the opinion, or why are you an expert on the issue? The more of an expert you are, the more your opinion should be respected. As your doctor, I recommend. Or, when I was raising my 7 children, I found that this brand works best. Sets you up to be an expert and worthy of being listened to. Rhetorical question, a question that does not need an answer because the answer is obvious. It's not just any time there's a question mark, it's when the writer has set up the answer as being obvious. I get 1 and he gets 2. Is that fair? Of course it's not fair. That's the answer because the writer has set it up so that you must answer that way. This leads the audience to a particular conclusion while making it seem like it was their choice to decide that, making it seem natural and logical. Repetition, saying the same thing over and over again. This is usually the important information or the bits of evidence or the numbers that must be maintained, or retained, I should say. Makes the word or phrase memorable. Analogy, comparing two situations. This creates an easy to understand comparison in order to illustrate a point. For example, school is like a prison. You are told where to be and at what time, and the outfits are all horrible. An anecdote, a personal story that is used as evidence. It might be fictional. This allows the illusion of evidence when real statistics might not exist. So it allows you to have evidence when you already lack evidence. It also makes the problem personal and relatable. For example, one time I taught a student who fell back from rocking on their chair and they died. I don't actually have evidence, so I use an anecdote that could or could not be true as evidence. Personal attack. This is when you attack a person, not for their ideas or their opinions, but for their physical or their beliefs, something like that. You know, as if you would believe her. Everyone knows she's an idiot who wears glasses. It tries to make her seem not credible, not because she's uneducated or has poor opinions, but because of the way she looks. So it suggests that a person is untrustworthy without actually having to challenge their core ideas. Rebuttal. Acknowledging what the opposing argument is and then saying why it's wrong. This is a very strong technique or a very strong argument method. I know people say Subway is cheaper, but KFC is better quality. And besides, you get what you pay for. So it's acknowledging, sure, some people say that Subway is cheaper. Price is an issue. But you get what you pay for, and Subway is better quality. KFC is better quality. So it makes the writer's opinion seem more valid and more correct because they've weighed up all sides of the argument. Hyperbole, large exaggeration. This makes the issue seem much bigger and the consequences much more important than what they perhaps actually are. Makes the issue seem far worse, and it heightens the implication of not taking action. If we don't do something about the calcium in milk, children will die. They probably won't, but it shows the reader this is an important issue, or at least it tries to position the reader to view it as important. Connotation. This is when words have an associated emotional meaning. It can be positive or it can be negative. For example, my maths teacher was a real Nazi. Nazi has strong negative connotations. People don't picture Nazis as playful, lovable people. They're strict, unrelenting, and they're not nice. The opposite. My wife is an angel. Angels have good connotations, positive. She's beautiful, she's lovely, she's caring, she's helpful. strong negative connotation, strong positive connotation. Evidence, facts, figures, stats, graphs, makes it seem like your opinion is supported by truth and as such is the only logical opinion. 4 out of 5 doctors recommend, 57% of students agree that, makes it seem like your argument is logical. Hypothetical scenario. This is like an anecdote, using evidence when there perhaps isn't real evidence. Imagine if all students were forced to do 1 hour of homework every day. Wouldn't our average scores skyrocket? So it's trying to get you to agree with what I'm saying, giving you evidence that doesn't actually exist. It illustrates a point using a situation that will likely never happen. Stereotypes and generalizations, using a small example as evidence for a much, much larger group. I almost got hit by a Tasmanian. All Tasmanians are bad drivers. Of course you're good at maths. You're Asian. Most stereotypes and generalizations are an ist. Could be sexist, racist, ageist. Most of them are anti a group. It oversimplifies an issue and can play on people's already held beliefs in order to get them to follow a suggested action. Expert opinion. This is very similar to establishing credentials. If you can quote experts who agree with you, it makes it seem like your position is more credible, more valid. It's not just your opinion, it's what the highly trained specialists believe and agree with. Australia has a growing economy. Professor Evans of Melbourne Uni agrees, saying blah, blah, blah. Suddenly it's not just my opinion, the bigwigs at Melbourne Uni are also saying it. Makes it seem more valid. Tone. I could give you the definition example and the effect on the audience, like I have for the others. However, the video would go for an extra 20 minutes. Instead, consult your tone lists. Have a look at the tone words that have been given, or failing that, just Google lists of tone. You will need to mention these again and again in every paragraph. On to the appeals. Appeal to common sense. This suggests that a solution must be followed because it is common sense. It's the only logical next step. For example, come on, I don't even have an Xbox. Should we be rewarding criminals with luxury cells? It makes it seem like it's just common sense. If I can't afford an Xbox, why should my tax dollars pay for an inmate to have one in jail? It leads the audience to particular conclusions while making it seem obvious, like it's common sense. Can go hand in hand with rhetorical questions as well. Appeal to patriotism. This is your love of your own country or your belief that your country is good and so you want to support your country. All Australians wear thongs. Are you Australian? If you are Australian, yeah, you'd probably wear thongs. Or don't let your country down. Enlist today. This was from the war, suggesting that if you didn't enlist, you were personally not supporting your country. You were letting everyone else down. This attempts to make a solution more desirable as it is the best one for the country, or because it is what other people in the country are doing. Appeal to fear, making you afraid. So it suggests that people's safety, security, or possessions, like their goods and materialistic stuff, are at risk. For example, if the enemy invades, they will kill our children, trying to make you scared of a potential outcome. If you don't do your homework, I will expel you, making you scared of the consequences if you don't act swiftly. It attempts to make them fear the consequences of not following a specified course of action. In this case, do your homework. In this case, fight the enemy. Appeal to family values. This suggests that a traditional family, that is, the old model of mother, father, and 2.5 children, suggests that a traditional family with traditional family values like trust, honesty, and kindness are the best and are what's needed to keep the fabric of society together. For example, if we allow same-sex marriage, then what's next? People marrying their pets? People marrying that should read their pets? This leads the audience to believe that non-traditional families, mother, father, children, that's called a nuclear family, that non-nuclear, non-traditional families are a threat to society. Appeal to justice, also known as appeal to fairness. A sense of fairness should prevail. I see this all the time with my Year 7s. Why am I getting yelled at and not her? Two people are talking and the teacher might just tell off the loudest one. They say, what? Why just me? Other people were talking. So it's this belief that everything should be fair. Everything should be even. Or, why does one criminal get 6 months jail and the other gets 6 years for the same crime? They're both criminals. Why are they getting different sentences? This leads the audience to believe in an outcome because it is fair for everyone, or fair at least for most people. Or even more specific, it's fair for the particular group that the reader belongs to. Appeal to hip pocket nerve. This is all about money. Hip pocket, it's where you keep your wallet. So at your hip is your wallet, everything about money. Suggests that money is important to the situation to try to make it seem more or less desirable. This could be used either way. It could be, oh, if we do this, it'll lose money, or if we do this, it'll save money. Sure, we could give every student an iPad, but it will cost us $4 billion in the first year alone. So we could do it, but it'll cost money. Or, the other way, if you install solar panels, the electricity bill will halve. Do this, save money. People have a tendency to want to avoid wasting money and to make more money. This makes some suggested actions more desirable because it results in money not being wasted. Appeal to being modern and up to date suggests that modern technology and practices are superior to the last versions. The iPhone 8 is so last year. I have the 9S. So the audience is more likely to follow a course of action or to buy a product or to follow a person based on the belief that they fear being left behind. They don't want to be yesterday's relic. They want to keep up to date and be part of the in crowd. This is how Apple's whole business plan operates. Some final advice. All of those, just practice, practice, practice. Create a list, use this document, use the document your teacher gives you, create a list and put it somewhere where you will see it all the time. Memorising those takes no effort. It's like song lyrics off the radio. Even if you hate the song, you remember it because you hear it so often. If you put that list up somewhere, every time you see it, it's getting stuck in your head. Practice, practice, practice. When you are using them in an essay, do it under timed conditions. And as always with everything, don't forget to plan and proofread. That is Metalanguage for Analysing Argument. Again, I am William Kent. Thank you.